All right, I am going to call the Finance Advisory Enhancement Committee meeting of January 4th, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Committee member Cutler,
Here.
committee member Hillebrand,
Here.
committee member Henry,
Here.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Here.
president Langfeld.
I am here. All right, public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes while the Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. And I don't see anybody else on. We'll move into reports. Committee chairperson. This will probably be our last light agenda. We're going to start really getting into a lot of finance things at the board level that will be clearly kicked down to us. Some of the things that we were looking at, those budget adjustment plans, there'll be a timeline for us, for our committee to do the ones that we were assigned. But we're looking, we'll have a discussion at the board of forming a community development authority. So there'll be probably, I'm going to try to somehow, if that passes, we will certainly be connected to that group, that committee. And then we're already going to start through kind of changing up the budget process. We're kind of do a lot of the what Bobby and I have been doing behind the scenes. We're going to be doing it at board meetings. So there's obviously going to be 100% transparency to it, and it'll make sure everybody's on the same playing field and understanding everything by the time we get to the budget discussion. So we'll be kicking that back down to us, just so you're informed on that too. So I think we'll start to really start getting into some pretty big items coming up this year. That's all I have. Committee members, anybody have anything?
No.
Okay.
I'm still talking about transportation tax versus wheel tax next month, or fee, right?
Correct. You're I've got you put in on the February meeting to do what I would do is not versus, I would do comparison.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
The pros and cons of each program as more of an informational thing. We won't be taking a vote that night. I want people to get educated on it, and then if there needs to be follow-up, then the following month we'll take some action.
Okay.
All right, finance director.
It's not really related to this committee, but you guys might be interested. Next week, myself and Renee and the chief inspectors for the election will be doing our Badger Books training for our new electronic poll book system. We're hoping to have that in place for the February primary, which I've found out we do have to have a primary because there's a state, I think a state
Supreme
race.
Court.
I don't remember what it was.
It's Supreme Court,
Okay.
because there's 2 from each side, or there's 4 of them out there.
Yeah, so we do have a February election. And then for our April election, Dave will be running unopposed for village president. And then we have 3 people running for the 3 village trustee seats. It's incumbents Judy Kettlebaiter and Doug Brenner, and then Sarah Borghardt. That little update for you guys.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to general business. First thing is discussion and possible approval of the December 7th, 2022 Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Seconded.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Bye. Aye.
All opposed, same. All right, next thing we have here is I believe the leaf pickup, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so in the packet came the survey from the residents, that I sent out yesterday. The report, what I've been updating as we've moved through the process from the very first one, and that has all the feedback from staff. Yeah, thank you. I'll just, you guys can all read, so I'm just gonna highlight the staff stuff a little bit, just so you have some background.
What page
The
you
whole
got?
pro, does someone have something?
I was
Okay, the
wondering, is
whole-
there a page you want me to have the screen on?
No, I'm going off my notes. It's easier for me to. go
Okay.
off. I got a lot of little scribble marks, otherwise it'd take me a while to find it. I want to make sure I get it right. They spent 86 hours picking up leaves this fall for that area. That's how they did it. They ended up going out on a total of 26 different time periods. There were a few days they went in the morning, then one in the afternoon, so that would count as 2 time periods. And this just gives you an idea of what commitment it is. They ended up picking up 37.5 loads of leaves.
Wow.
Yeah, that seems like a lot, but I don't know what the comparison is for down at the site. But anyways, that's how many loads they ended up doing. Let's see, I had them, I said it took 86 hours. I had them do a compliance scale, and it's a 1 through 7, with 1 being bad and 7 being total compliance. Over all the time periods, the 26 time periods, it came out to an average of 4.8, which isn't too bad. But when you look at it, here's the breakdown. There were 0 time periods where a 7 was scored. There were 5 time periods where a 6 was scored. There were 15 time periods where a 5 was scored. 3 time periods as a 4, 2 time periods as a 3, and 1 time period as a 2. So 20 of the time periods we were at 5 or above, which I thought was pretty good. The biggest problem was car issues, where cars were in the way. And what's interesting, of those 6 bad scores or compliance scores, 5 of the 6 occurred in the afternoon time periods. And so what I'm thinking is there's just more cars parked, and I don't know if it's because people were having lunch at Montague's or parents were picking up kids at park. I don't know what influenced it, but I thought that was pretty interesting that 5 out of the 6 low scores were in the afternoon. Let's see. That is, I think, then the feedback. Obviously, we picked a terrible day to have one of the pickups on Thursday. They had to work their way around the carts, which I don't know why none of us figured that one out. So Thursdays were not a good day. The cars parked in front of leaf piles was, like I said, the number one problem. They got a little overwhelmed with having to do brush pickup and leaf collection, during that time. So their suggestion was to curtail brush pickup during the time of leaf pickup. And then they would look at the time period. We started, if you remember, October 10th and went to the end of November. They said we should start picking up the 1st of October and end at the first snowfall, which kind of makes sense. And obviously, because of the loads, and this makes more sense when you know that it was 37.5 loads. that kind of slowed them down. Having a second collection box probably would have made it more efficient and probably cut down on the amount of time needed. So when one box is being emptied at going to the compost site, they can still be collecting leaves. So those were the comments from staff. And like I say, this has all been inserted into that report. Any questions or anything on that part of it?
Well, I had a couple, Jay.
Yeah.
One was the brush pickup. I think some people want to know why that would be an issue that you wouldn't do it because what's the reason? Is it because it's in the way? They didn't have enough time? Because if you look at the rest of the village got the brush picked up as well as that area, and it seemed to happen. I'm kind of confused as to why.
Well, here, that was exact. There were days where they could not pick up all the leaves in that one time period.
Okay,
So they had to go out the next day, which was Tuesday, which is brush pickup. And you're using some of the same truck and you're using the same staff.
so it's more of a staffing than it is because the brush piles were in the way and.
No, yeah, the brush piles were not in the way. It was just that we had them back to back.
Right.
And
And then hour wise, are they counting hours when the blower just sat there because they were out dumping? Is that why our number is higher? And if we had two, would we, and I understand we'd be more efficient, but
you know, I'm guessing the hours would go down. We didn't break that out. They just have,
yeah,
a lot of them, they only did one. A lot of days they must have timed it that way, where they did one load, two loads, or 3 loads, 5 loads one day. But I think only one person had to take off, you know, to do it, but you had to wait for the truck to come back.
right.
To,
Usually it was 2 people, so
yeah,
maybe they just got in the truck and ran with them to dump. It makes sense.
yeah.
And then I did hear from some people that were out raking one day and they were kind of upset the next day because they saw the guys out like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're never going to please everybody. I get it. So they were feverishly raking the leaves to the curb and they never came back. So the next day they said, well, we did our part, but they never showed up again. It was only 3 o'clock. Where were they? I'm like, well, they have more than just your street. So I'm sure there's a reason, but
Yeah.
you know, just those are the little comments we'll always hear and why didn't get me first or type thing. So, but yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any questions on that part of it? So then the one that you got today in your packet was the resident feedback survey. And I hand delivered 122 of them. And we received 27 back. So that's about 22%. So it's not a great return, but you know, it's what it is what it is. So so you kind of see what the results were on that. I think to me, the highlight of it, to get a better understanding of the number score, was the comments. I always love reading comments because you get a better perspective of where the people are coming from, and then I understand, and they're not understanding the reason and asking the question. But so if we go through that quickly, you know, clearly I'm looking at anything over neutral is positive, anything under neutral is a negative, right? I mean, that's simple. So you're looking at 22 for question 1 in the positive, then you get 19, which are really good numbers. The one with the brush pickup is very interesting. I'm thinking, really, that many people put brush out during that time period, that would be a hardship for them. But as you can see, there's 12 that have negative view, so it's just a little under half on not doing that. So we'll have to take that into consideration. And then obviously the property taxes one is pretty much split down the middle, which one would figure. And the comment There was the one comment that the two surveys didn't match the one that was sent out, and the hard copy one and the one that was on the internet. Yeah, there's a few differences, but not significant to make a big difference on it. But I'm not going to read through all these comments. I think it's interesting, and I talked to a few people when I was handing them out, that a couple people hadn't used the service but thought it was a needed service. They just didn't need it at this time period. Others thought it was just absolutely fantastic, well overdue. So I think overall is positive. So the next step, well, why don't I answer any questions on the survey, resident survey?
Yeah, could we have the second commenter and the last commenter join the committee? Because they have very good ideas, and why not?
Well, the problem is I don't know who they are.
Well, okay. I mean, you could always throw out a thing to all of them.
Well, I'm going to be
As
putting,
is-
I'm going to be putting something, out to get people, but yeah, I no, the comments were good. You
Yeah.
always get a better idea that, and I'm happy. I don't know how many total comments we ended up, but I bet it was pretty close to half the people that filled it out took the time to do comments, which is really a positive thing. Even though we had low numbers, when you look at the total number of comments we received, it's a pretty high number. And like I say, some of them were on the money. Others, I think they missed the point of it's not all or nothing. We're just trying to get a value of how important it is. So you compared it to other things to see, not necessarily that it's all going to happen. It's not like we're going to raise your taxes, not pick up brush. That's not how it's supposed to be set up. And it's telling. So what'll happen here is it'll go to the this will go to the board as just an information. And then probably Jerry, Brian, and myself will probably come up with options to give to the board the next time around to see what we can do. But does anybody know, does the city of Monona really contract with Barnes? Because I thought when we did the very first part of this, we did not find any company that actually had a contract to do that.
No, we did. There was, Barnes is one of them, and I
Oh,
think
okay.
McFarland was one of them for sure, where people kind of brought everything to our recycling site down the village garage, and they picked them up there. And one other community gave the dates and they came and picked them up. But yeah, there was at least two that contract.
That they would go to the curbside and pick them up, not
Yep.
just going to a site?
Right. One was at
Okay.
the site, like I think it was McFarland. They brought them to their garage and put them in a big pile, and Barnes came and sucked them up. And another one that actually told them what weekends they're coming, but they had to have them in containers. They couldn't
Oh.
take bags. It wouldn't be, I don't know how they picked them up, but it wasn't probably a garbage truck. Just threw them in the back.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was interesting. Someone did some research.
Hey, hey Jay, I have a question.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say in here, and I don't remember, but what did they use to do the current leaf pickup? They talk about a pull behind thing. What did we buy? What do we actually have?
We bought that vacuum for 17,000 from the used one out of Minnesota.
Okay, so this was just a vacuum that sucked them up, that blew them into a truck.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep. It cuts them up and throws them into a truck. We bought that, then,
2 years ago.
yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Because we didn't use it the first year because of COVID.
We didn't, well, we used it down at the site.
Yeah.
Yep.
so then Is it a pull behind thing?
Yeah.
Is it, what is it? So it's behind a truck and a guy sucks stuff up and then there's a blower that blows it into the truck behind it?
It basically works just like the wood chipper, except for it has a vacuum. So it's the same truck, the same kind of hookup, where they just go with this big vacuum and it goes through like you say, a fan that cuts them up, and then it shoots it into the back of the truck, like the wood chips.
It,
Okay,
they do have to walk along, like a public works guy has to actually walk along and like, you know, suck up with the hose. Like it's kind of a manual process. It's not just like the truck drives along and sucks them up. Like there's a guy with the hose sucking them up.
right.
Someone's gonna have
So,
to put on a lot of miles if we do the whole village.
right, so then I guess in here, when it talks about like inside of the thing, it talks about cost up estimates for a pull behind vacuum system with modified trucks to accept leaves from a blower. Is that what they were doing? That's,
Yeah, that would have been the system. What was
Okay,
in there? Go
so
ahead.
this was the initial proposal part here in here.
This is, yeah.
Yeah, like this was initially, like this is,
Yeah, the
where it says-
report that you're looking at, this is the third time you've seen it. The first time was when we were just researching it. The second one was when we came up with the pilot programs. And now this third time, it's actually showing the results.
so it's, so the
I didn't want three
conclusion-
different documents out here. This way captures the whole history of what went on.
Right, so the conclusions is really like the new stuff in here then,
The results,
right?
yes. That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's
Everything,
what. Yeah, that's just what I was wondering about, because it seemed, I was confused a little bit. I mean, I understand you said it's a third time, but I didn't remember seeing all of it.
well, yeah, this went to the board. This will be the third time this report has gone to the board.
Sure, okay.
As I say, yeah, Michael, you might not have been on the finance committee the first, you know, it might have been Kevin yet, or
Yeah, no, it's all good. I just was trying to,
Well, the board, the board approved, the board approved the pilot program.
right, and the
Right.
purchasing of the.
And the
of
purchasing of the vehicle. So, like I say, it's been to this will be the third time it's gonna go to the village board.
Sure,
And this will be this one will be just informational to share the results and everything. And then the next one, there'll be proposals again from village staff on what their recommendation is. If we go forward village-wide, how we're gonna do it, or do we do a select? I mean, there's a number of options that we can go. We have data now to show and calculate time, costs, and stuff like that.
right, absolutely. I would say, well, being on the board, what would the cost savings be of a second truck? What's, I mean, that's a big thing in terms of jumping up to buying something different. It sounds like
Well,
the second trunk would be a great thing. Just,
I buying a second truck just for leaf pickup that would not make financial sense.
well,
Even though it would save us trips, I don't think you could make enough trips to pay back for the truck.
well, that's the other question that we don't know about public facilities. It seems like they have numerous trucks. How much does it cost to put a collector box on one?
I don't know. Those are the things that's the next step. Right?
Okay,
We've got the data here. Now we can come up with some options, because quite frankly, I think where everybody's going, and I thought I saw, again, I can't remember, it's been so long since we did the first one. A lot of places are going to where they're going to like how our garbage is picked up. You have one guy sit inside and he has a little remote handle, and that works the hose, and you pick up, one person can pick up all the leaves. It's all attached. And according to Jerry, Sauk City just bought one of those units. And the units actually slide off and on the type of truck that we have. So we already have the truck. It would be just buying the attachment to it but anyways, there's a lot of options out there. We'll just have to look at. But I think we've come a long ways and we have the data now that at least we can make an educated decision. And if we decide not to go with it, I don't think we're going to lose a whole lot of money on that vacuum. I mean, we paid 17,000. I would imagine we're going to get 14, 15 for it, and spending $2,000-3,000 to get this data and do what we've done, I think well worth it. So I think this has all been positive.
At a minimum, I would think keeping the vacuum and using it at the village garage site to pick up what gets dropped off then would be still worth keeping it and having it haul versus trying to load with the tractor. So that the blower is going to be a good investment for us overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because it's taken 1/3. We've reduced the number of trips to the compost site by 2/3. And I forgot what the numbers were for staff time, but I know it's a savings in staff time too. So
Quick point of clarification on the new system. That's a 1-person system.
yeah,
What was the cost? And I thought I saw 240. Was that just for the system or was that including the truck?
I don't know. I'd be
Um,
just guessing.
The 240, I think I researched that with Sauk, and that was a truck. I know what Jerry's saying, that it matches what we do with some of the trucks we have down there. But I think it's a little bit different because that truck had 2 steering wheels and the joystick, so that you could actually, as the operator, be driving in the passenger seat of a normal truck, and then you could dump it off. But I don't know if, I know our trucks can do that, but I don't know if it'll do what this customized one does. So that's the only downside. You're still probably looking at paying out 240.
Okay, that's all I need. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, so again, what this will do is have it scheduled to go to the village board as information only in January, and then staff will sit down and we'll see what we have, and we'll look into those different options and see what the cost and all that good stuff is. But I think we've done our work on this.
I just want to, it's just more information than anything else. One of the downsides of that single person unit is we have a lot of dead end streets, and the length of it to include the vacuum, the container and everything, it may be difficult to get down all those cul-de-sacs or try to turn around in all those streets that they did off of Park Street, because it's really not a cul-de-sac down there, it just ends. So
yeah. But do you think that it's longer than the truck and the trailer they were doing right now? I mean,
but they maneuver, so you can actually, back up fairly well, and maneuver the trailer backwards, or the vacuum, but this is all one unit. So, I mean, that's down the road if we get that far, but
yeah.
Could that
All
also
right.
be a justification for keeping that second unit that we already have?
Yeah.
And having that run the dead end
Yeah.
street, and use the other one
According
for
to
that.
Jerry, it's in good shape, so. All right, let's go to number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the expenditure restraint program. And there's only really, I took your advice and I thinned out a lot of the words to it. So it's the same. Most of this is the exact same that you saw at the last meeting, except for there are less words in it. And then we attached the paperwork or the form that Bobby fills out every year on it. So unless someone has something else they wanted, I think this is pretty well set, ready when it comes up for the board, this is what will probably be presented. And that won't be until probably February or March.
So I didn't miss the last meeting. Is there a recap? I mean, is this something we're getting money back for or not, or?
Yeah, this year, yeah, for the 2023 budget, we got a big chunk. It was 91,000.
Okay,
But then the next 3 years passed, we didn't receive any. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
And then in 19, we got 6. So it's can be substantial amount of money, absolutely.
and is that figured into the budget, or is this gonna be like a surplus check that comes in?
Well, it's figured into the budget,
Okay, I
but
know,
it is a check that comes in.
okay,
But
Oh,
it's
sure.
also not the same every year. It's depending on how many people get it. So you can't have a certain dollar amount that's factored into the budget.
Correct.
okay.
And that's what you see up on top. You see, it's not a big change. I mean, when you look at the last 5 years, the fewest you had was 151 villages. The highest was 178. So
So,
it's,
so 2020, 21, 22, we have $0 because we weren't eligible or we didn't.
Correct.
Here.
yeah, we spend too much.
Okay.
Well, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I hear it.
It's a pretty simple process.
Yeah.
All right. Again, that was just to bring back to you because it's going to be representative from our committee. So any questions on that? Otherwise, I think it's pretty well good to go. All righty. I don't think let's take action since I'm going to present it as coming from our committee. Do I have a motion to accept the a report regarding expenditure restraint program?
I'll move it.
All right, do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same. All right. Any future agenda items that people have an interest in?
I don't know if it's an agenda item, but is there any update on the Village Hall Police Station project?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good one. Well, I can't, I think we're kind of 2023. Here's what we're looking to do in 2023. You all know that we have an accepted offer on the current building, right? I shared that already, right?
Yep.
So what we're looking at in the January meeting, we're looking to see if there's support to form what's called a community development authority committee. And if you do that, you're able to tap into federal money, and it's really good. It's the interest rate is much lower than what the banks offer, and because this authority is basically an entity into itself, you can go and get a loan up to 40 years, while the village could only do 20 by state statute. So last meeting, we had someone who has done this, I believe, for Fitchburg and Baraboo. They've built police stations, fire stations, city halls, all getting this funding. And what's beautiful about this program, if the interest rates go down, they give you the cheaper rate. If they go up, you can stay at where you're at. And if you want, you can pay off the loan early without a penalty. So that would make a huge financial difference in the funding of the police station Village Hall, if you think about it. I think he was saying the rate that they're going right now is like 3.25, he was thinking. And, you know, other places you're at 5 to 6. And of course, doing it over 40 years, which seems almost crazy to me, but now you're going to pay more interest over that, but just think what the payments are going to be.
Right.
You're doubling the time period. So anyways, so we're gonna be seeing where that goes. And if that is approved, then we got to really get going with that, because he warned us. He says it's just like any other federal program. There is a boatload of paperwork, but he's willing to help out on it. And there's requirements on who has to be on that authority or committee. So I'll have to look at state statute to figure that out. And then, since it's its own entity, somehow we'll have to transfer the lot into the authority, so they have control of it. And I'm sure there's a bunch of work involved in that too.
Quick
And then
one.
what I'd like to do at probably the third quarter is probably have a public forum on getting ideas from citizens on what they would like function for, like the community room, ideas on what they kind of maybe would like to see the outside look like, that type of thing.
I was just more curious, I look at some of the stuff here, the state surplus, and you talk about trying to get more money to schools and to local municipalities. I'm just wondering, have we thought about trying to move the timetable up as far as architecture stuff and like be shovel ready when the time comes, if there was some money available, versus scrambling and put something together and meet a deadline, or are we not?
Well, you're basically, our timeline would be this fall. We're looking to put the architectural money in for 2024.
Right.
So we're 1 year away. I suppose if money came available or something, we could do it. I think we're in pretty good shape, because we've at least done a lot of the programming, because we did that, we paid that in 2013. So I think some of that should carry over, at least the main ideas, and the space needs and stuff, it might need to be modified. I mean, that's a positive. I just, unless but the state, they're not going to work on that budget won't be coming out until July, right? Because they're on that fiscal year. I am hoping what they do is they increase our state aid. I mean, it's been a joke for the last, basically decades. It's gone down. And I don't know. Both parties have talked about helping out municipalities, and public safety has been one of the top. So if there's money available for a police station, even to pay for half of that, yeah, we're going to go for it. We'll just have to see what it is. It seems like now a lot of the Republicans want to give it back in, a tax rebate to individuals, and that's fine too. But we'll just have to see. I'm hoping there's some money for municipalities, because it's going to be difficult. We got some difficult years coming up if something doesn't change.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have anything? All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I motion to adjourn.
All right. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed, same. All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
You as
Thanks,
well.
guys.
Feel better.
Yeah, thank you.